So I watch a lot of game devs on YouTube. That's almost all of my YouTube consumption, minus a few podcasts and video game challenges. And if you don't know, Brackeys has just returned to the platform after a 3.5-year break. Brackeys is the biggest game dev tutorial channel on YouTube by far. He started mostly focusing on Unity and is now transitioning to Godot. He released a tutorial video as of today when I'm recording this. And it's like super high quality content. He's so good at education. Now that's not really our focus. I don't do the education portion, but for those who want to get started on game dev, Brackeys is a great resource. And with Brackeys returning, it kind of made me want to start talking about who my favorite game devs are on YouTube. Since the majority of my viewership are not game devs most likely, this would be a great way to kind of introduce that type of content to those creators. Now we'll start with Reubs. Reubs kind of went viral when he started creating a remake of Simpsons Hit and Run on Unreal Engine 5. And it was super high quality content, really accessible and really engaging. He kind of focuses on a low technical level, so he explains how things are done, but he doesn't really go into super great detail. That's kind of where I look to be as well, specifically since I'm not an educator, as I mentioned with Brackeys. Reubs is actually the main inspiration behind this channel as well, as you can clearly see with my Toy Story 2 remake and Unreal Engine 5, although I'm not one to go into Unreal Engine plugin development like he has. Which, by the way, he actually created the dialogue plugin that I used for both my Fable project and am using for Toy Story 2 remake. Unfortunately, Reubs' last video was uploaded 7 months ago where he started a remake of Lego Island, but he's been focusing a lot on his narrative plugin. He has his dialogue and quest editor plugin on Unreal Engine, but he's added several other plugins under the brand name Narrative as well, such as his inventory system and a navigation system. And Reubs is really good about making his plugins accessible and easy to work with for whatever your needs are. Now, once we kind of get past Reubs, there's also Lost Relic Games, ran by John Krasinski. John Stajesco.
Hey, what's up guys? John Stajesco here.
John is currently making the game Blood and Mead, and he's going through the phase that you'll see a lot in this list, where game devs stop uploading to YouTube so much because they're just trying to finish their game. Uploading to YouTube takes a lot of time away from game development actually, and these YouTubers typically realize that they need to just finish the game.
There's prams to push, dogs to pat, parks to visit, beers to drink, snags to turn, things to lift, lawns to mow, anime to read, arrows to loose, and mini golf courses to make.
But I actually found Lost Relic Games from a video where one of his friends reviewed his pre-alpha build of his game Blood and Mead, which is a really cool 2D action platformer with Vikings. And I also found him through his Kickstarter analysis videos, where he reviews both failed and succeeded projects on Kickstarter. He's done some really great games like Above Snakes, and then he also done some Kickstarter failures, such as that furry tournament fighter game.
Some characters which look to be furries.
And he also has another really great video that you'll see a lot on this platform, where it's 1 week as a game dev or 1 week as a solo game dev, 1 week as an indie game dev, that kind of video. He did one with that where he kind of went through his whole week and what he does. And he just all of his time off too, like when he went out to get drinks with one of his friends. And oh my God, that's Oliver Joyce! Whiskeybarrel Studios is ran by Oliver Joyce. You may know Whiskeybarrel Studios from their successful releases of Swords and Sandals. He's also working and wrapping up a game called Gorgon Shield right now. It's basically a game where you go onto a tower that raises its level on the platform you're on, and every level you stop and you have to fight some enemies. It's like this really cool combat system. It kind of reminds me of the latest Paper Mario game and its combat style, but it's a little bit different and really unique. And at this point, I kind of consider Oliver Joyce a homie, so I don't really have anything negative to say about him whatsoever.
As that says, I'm feeling awesome. I feel great.
We'll actually go to the second biggest channel on this list right now, which is Game Maker's Toolkit, ran by Mark Brown. Now, Mark Brown has been around on YouTube for quite a while now, and he passed 1 million subs just a couple years ago. And he's always done design analysis videos where he'll look at a game and some design element of it, and he'll break it down, why it worked, why it didn't, what could have been better, what made it so unique, what they had to go through to get that design fully finished, everything like that. When he hit 1 million subs, he said he was looking for a new challenge, so he got into actual game development. He started working on a game at the time called Untitled Magnet Game, now as Mind Over Magnet. It's this really cool like 2D puzzle game where your character can pick up magnets and throw them or use them to manipulate the environment around them to solve puzzles. His devlogs are easily the highest produced devlogs of anything on YouTube, except my final mention. He also has done one other thing, which is a Unity Basics tutorial video, which is the best tutorial for anyone who wants to get into Unity. It kind of solves that problem where a lot of times tutorials tell you to click this button, click that button, click that button, and you have no idea what you're doing. He kind of walks you through each step and why you do it and the importance of it and how you would do things slightly differently depending on what you're looking to do. Basically, he has you create Angry Birds within like a couple hours.
Except for when I deleted that. No, I'm joking. This is a good episode. Just let me have one.
Another great creator who makes really high quality content is PontyPants. Now, Ponty worked at an animation studio for a while, working on the Star Wars franchise and other content like that, I think specifically for Lucasfilm.
Hi, I'm Pontus. I work in the film industry as a visual effects artist. I'm Swedish, I live with my lovely wife and our little dog in Vancouver, Canada.
But he decided he kind of wanted to make a game, so he started a devlog series. He used to release weekly, which is insane, and it's such highly produced content. And it was basically him trying to make a game, a physics-based boxing game called Punch-a-Bunch. Now, Punch-a-Bunch, I've bought it, I've played it, it's really fun, very difficult. He has a great eye for cinematography as well. His content's really highly produced. And like I mentioned with John, he doesn't produce much content anymore. As he was getting closer to the release of Punch-a-Bunch, he stopped uploading and has tried to hurry up and finishing the game. And since then, he's actually released a whole other game and released one video about it. And it's a difficult game about climbing. I think that's the name of it. Next is the last indie game channel that I'm gonna point out as a big contender, and that's WhyKev. Now this channel is actually making a game called Paper Clay, which is a game about a chicken kind of exploring a paper crafted environment. It kind of reminds me some of Paper Mario, where the entire environment is made of dioramas and it's really cool, but it's made by an indie dev. There's a lot of passion behind it. And it looks really accessible and exciting. So, and our last big recommendation, and it's a big studio, is Two Player Productions, the production studio behind Double Fine, who makes Psychonauts, Psychonauts 2, and they're owned by Xbox now. And they released a documentary called Psych Odyssey that you can view on YouTube. And it's about the development of Psychonauts 2 over 7 years. And it's emotional, it doesn't shy away from the bad parts of game development. It even goes into detail and shows how they have a certain manager who doesn't adapt as easily to the Double Fine culture and the challenges that that brings. It talks about crunch and how difficult that is to avoid, even in studios that are fully aware of it. It was actually my top piece of media in all of 2023. It was amazing. So I highly recommend everyone watch that. It's like 30 hours long, so strap in, but it's really good.
They only sent me the script this morning, so I've not even had a chance to
Memorized it?
barely had a. I looked at it in the car.
I'll tell you the whole thing.
And there's also a few other channels I can mention. You know, there's Thomas Brush, who focuses specifically on how to have a successful studio in game development, specifically indie game development, and how to get published. He offers master classes on this kind of stuff. It's really high quality content. It's highly produced. He's also making a game called Twisted Tower right now that seems really cool. It's like a Walt Disney, Willy Wonka, Bioshock horror game kind of deal. I should clarify, it looks like an action horror game. Published by 3D Realms. They're making a comeback, so that's really sick. So yeah, really good content. I recommend everyone kind of check him out as well if you're looking into the business side of game development. There's also Blackthornprod. And these guys actually have a really cool series called Pass the Game Challenge, where they get so many devs, it's anywhere from between 6 to 8 to 10 to 100 at the biggest, and they make each developer work on the game from anywhere from 2 to 6 hours each, and they pass it on to the next developer without any communication, and there's all kinds of misunderstandings, and it's really interesting to see how projects come along. Some are really high quality, some are not as well developed as you would kind of expect from a situation like this. I think my favorite video in that series was actually one that had Lost Relic games in it, where they made a superhero game. And lastly, there's also Solomon Gumball. Now, Solomon Gumball is the definition of an indie game dev. Someone who you can look at and kind of tell, yeah, they're not the most experienced, but they are learning really quickly. They're getting super talented. I believe it's actually 2 people working on the project now as well, specifically the developer and who's behind the channel, and also an artist. They're making a game right now. I can't remember the name, but I'll put the picture here. It's on Steam, where it's like a Mario Kart skiing game. And it kind of reminds me a lot of SSX Tricky, but a lot more wacky with really cool characters. And the game just looks exciting, and their videos are really fun to watch. So yeah, I recommend them. And I could go on another 50 minutes listing another 40 game developers that I watch on YouTube. There's so many great YouTubers on YouTube right now. So these are just my favorites of who I recommend you kind of check out if you're interested in watching more content like this. And if you're interested, make sure you check out my remake of Toy Story 2 and Unreal Engine 5. The first video blew up. Really cool. 180,000 views at this point, which is insane. And we're basically remaking Toy Story 2 from scratch. I'll be replacing all of the art eventually, and that's coming up soon. So yeah, make sure you check it out. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching, and y'all take care now.